All right. It is being recorded now. Good call. Please remind me if you want me to record because I forget. All right, so I'll do that again now that we're recording it. So do a couple Command Z's here. And then now go into my shape builder, Shift M. Now my letters are not showing up on this screen. That's upsetting. Let me fix this. Ooh, I minimized my thing. It's still on the other screen. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna come back. We'll try. Okay. Okay, so we'll click Shift M for Shape Builder. Have that plus available, and we want the petal. And then press Option to delete the shapes we don't want, which is that one and that one. Now I'm gonna hit Command Y again, and we have one petal. And you're like, okay, Vittoria, that's one petal. We need like 365 others. I'll show you how to do that. So of course, you can Command C, Command V this, use the rotation tool, but then we kind of lost our gray outline doing that shape builder. It's not there anymore. And, it might be a little bit difficult to put everything manually. There's a secret, which is not very secret. It's called the rotate tool, or R. And the cool thing about the rotate tool is that you can set where you want to rotate from, what you want the shape to look at to rotate. So what I want to do is hold Option, and you can see how when I hold Option, it has like those dots by my mouse there. It's very subtle. Hopefully you can see it. So I can approximate it here. And because I have my smart guides on, remember, if you don't have smart guides on, it's under View, Smart Guides. And that will yell at me when I get to the center of the shape. And that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to press Option and click. And this window is going to pop up. And now I can say, oh, I want this to be 15 degrees. I'm going to press Tab on my keyboard. And I can see how it has changed. Okay, it went a little bit. Maybe I want this to be 20 degrees instead. So it goes a little bit further. And I press Tab so that it updates the preview for me. And if I don't have the preview on, I can't see what's going on. So if nothing is happening, it's probably because the preview is not on. So make sure you have that. And now, instead of just clicking OK, I'm going to click Copy. Now I have to. And now you're like, oh, Vittoria, you got to do that 355,000 times. No, there's another secret. There is a shortcut that is Command D. And Command D will repeat the last action that you did in the same proportion. So what we just did, we moved that petal, we made a copy of that petal over 20 degrees. So when I press Command D, it's going to look at the petal we copied and move over another 20 degrees. So I'll show you. Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, all the way until we are done. And now we have a flower. And you can see how it worked because the top of this petal, it's just barely grazing that outside grid line that we created. And then now I have, certain proportions that I can use to perhaps create other flowers, by just copying these shapes and working through them. But of course, these are all one shape. Then I can select everything. I'm going to unselect by clicking Shift and clicking. I'm going to unselect this middle part, go and find my Pathfinder tool, and I'm going to merge them all so they become one shape. So now they are one shape. I do have to say, though, that as personal preference, before I do anything with Pathfinder or anything that we've done so far, I usually make copies. So I'm going to do some Control Z's here until we go back to having our gray outline. So before doing anything here, I would copy this. I would just do Option, click, and drag just to make a copy of it in case whatever I do here, I'm like, ooh, this is ugly. Why did I do that? So I do select that shape again, Shift M, and then I delete the shapes I don't want. And then now I have that, and then I can see, you know, what if it was a little bit further away, you know? If I didn't save this, perhaps I would have a hard time editing it. So of course here I didn't do Command Z's as far as I needed to, but we can make it work. So I can still make this a little bit bigger, you know, if I want the petals to be a little bit further away. And then since I already screwed that part up, I can just go back here and then do one of those. And then like, okay, maybe this petal being skinnier, maybe that, you know, that could be interesting for me. And then again, I'd go and make a copy of it, toss it to the side so I don't lose my work. And then now I select this and this, same thing, Shift M, click for shape, click to delete shape, click to delete shape. And then now I have different proportion, different relationship. And then I can do it again, R for rotating, Option to click. And then I'm going to put here my 20 degrees and make a copy, and then Command D all the way home. And now we have a different flower. So if I just rotate here, it doesn't have to be within the grid, you know. We can see different flower that came from the same place. And then before making these into full shapes instead of single petals, I copy them and then I make them into single shape. And I think that's also the beauty of vectors, because vectors are very light. They don't take a lot of space on your computer. So, you know, making these copies are not going to be a big hassle for your computer to handle. So let me save this as flowers. And yeah, I'm in Illustrator. I just want to make sure I'm in the correct class. Digital media, section 4, software demos, Illustrator, boom, boom, boom. All right. Because then when you have a single petal, you can still, you know, make a copy of it, maybe make it go a little bit. It's easier if you get one that it's 90 degrees. Make it go up a little bit. If you manually rotate things, that can be a little tricky. But then this one perhaps can be darker. And then I can do a Command Shift and opening bracket to put it in the back. Want to make sure that it is as close as possible. And then I can rotate that as well. I'll do 20 degrees, copy, and then I can add to my shapes. So this is, you know, one way to create shapes that have create icons or you know, images by using the same shapes, repeating them, and creating new relationships. And it's not that hard. You know, it's R for rotating. So since I haven't been keeping up with this, R to rotate. And then within that, hold Option or Alt if you're on PC to select, what is it, kind of like where it rotates from. Now, what else did we use? We used Shift M for Shape Builder tool. and Command D or Control plus D to copy what we did last. So for example, if I'm gonna create a new artboard. So to create a new artboard, Shift O. And then I go up here and click, and then I create another artboard, basically creating a new page. Go back to V to exit. Let's say I really like this flower. I'm gonna group these two shapes together, Command G, and then I'm gonna drag it over here. And let's say, oh, I wanna place them one under the other, but at the same distance. So I'm gonna hold Option, click, hold Shift, so that I'm just creating a copy right underneath it. And then when I let go, I can press Command D to make a copy of this flower, just one under the other at the same distance that we did the first one. So it sure helps a lot, makes our life easier. So that's the main way to do that. And then you can play around with it, you know, create different things. And another great thing to do is that you can create these icons and you can export them right away as PNGs, and it's super easy. So I'm gonna select this shape, and let's say that I want to use this, I don't know, on a website. I just want to post it. So for example, I just opened a Redbubble account. So if I want to sell this as a sticker, I can just right click on it. So what is the size? You can see the size up here, but if you're in the new version, it's probably over to the right under properties. So this is 2 inches by 2 by 2, basically. I can increase that, but it's stretching it. That's why that link in the middle, if you click on it, it constrains proportions. So it keeps things cohesive. So I'm just gonna increase that to 2. So we have closer to 2 by 2 sticker. That would be a good size. This could be also a great shape to be cut on a Cricut or a Silhouette machine, if you know about those, the what is it, vinyl cutters. Okay, so I click on it, and right at the bottom you have export selection. When you click on it, you're presented with this pop-up window, and here you get to select where you want to save it. So I'm just making sure that it is where it needs to go. Software demos, Illustrator, that's exactly where I wanted to go. You can create a subfolder based on that, especially if you're extracting and exporting many assets at once. I don't want to, I just want it to open the location after it's done. And you can select different formats. You can select PNG, JPEG. If I do JPEG, I'd always do JPEG 100. That's the color space of whatever you're selecting, or SVG that we talked about, that is the vector file format for the web, or a PDF. But I want a PNG because then I know for sure that it's going to have that transparent background, and then I can just up that onto Redbubble and we're golden. And I do like to scale it as per the resolution. And then here I put a really high resolution, which is 300 points per inch. That is the highest resolution, basically. You can go higher than that, but it's a little bit redundant after a while. But given that, 300 ppi would be great for printing. If this were an asset for a magazine, that would be a good resolution for it. So I'm just gonna click export asset, and then it opens up here. So I can double click and I have my flower. So it doesn't have a background, as you can see, because otherwise it would be white. And there we go. So that's how you create an icon and then save it as a PNG very easily without having to go to, Command Shift S. Oh, I can't save it as a PNG. What in the world? So it is by right clicking that you get to that, and it is a lot easier. Okay. So we looked at smart guides, we looked at rulers, we looked at rotation, we looked at the shape builder, we looked at Command D, copying things to keep to repeat things, repeat what we did last until eternity, basically. And we learn how to export as PNG, and also adding and remove artboards, Shift O, add artboards, remove artboards with the trash can. It doesn't get rid of the work you did on it. It just gets rid of that page. And if you copy it, you can also use the option click and drag to copy it. That will copy the artwork in it. All right, so I'm going to save that. And let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back for a short lecture. All right, I'll see you in at 1:40. All right, welcome back. If you're here, give me a thumbs up. All right. Awesome. All right. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go into a very short lecture and an exercise. Let me open my pop-up window. So if you have any question, you can drop them in the chat. All right. So semiotics. Have you guys ever heard of it before? Yes? No? More or less? No? All right. That's all right. Rylan, you're coming from psychology. So semiotics has started in psychology. It is the study of signs, basically, or how we communicate with each other. There are, it's a full-fledged theory. Of course, we won't get too deep into it. If you would like to, I can give you more resources. But for now, let's just keep with that. So overall, we live in a society, and lots of things happen as humans that do live in a society, right? And therefore, everything that we do is part of a context. We live in a society. We're living in the U.S. The context of those us that are in the normal Bloomington area is it has snowed. It's hot today. It's almost 40 degrees and the snow's melting. That's our context for today. It's sunny, in a weather like. But as humans, we have constructed everything around us, right? From the chairs we sit on, like we physically built them, to also how we communicate verbally and visually. We've built that as human beings. We're all able to speak English because we've all decided that this is the language that the people here speak. And we've all agreed in its rules and grammar so that, we can talk to each other and build ideas and connections. And visually is very similar. How we visually describe something is part of this constructed meaning that we've built in our minds. So basically, nothing really means anything. If you write dog on a page, those are just 3 characters of certain shapes and sizes in a language. But the DOG, that doesn't mean anything. We are the ones that create, that invent and attribute meaning to everything that we see. It could be a little extreme, but it's just how we all have come to accept certain rules and bounds, and that's what keep us together as society. So for example, we have decided that when someone passes the 50-yard line with this ball that is not round, it's a touchdown. But then if you go and tell my dad that, first of all, he doesn't speak English very well, so he might misunderstand you. And second of all, football is not big in Brazil. Soccer is, the real football. Let's not get into that. It means nothing because the way we build things is more than anything cultural, right? So since football isn't popular in Brazil, if you tell my dad that Grêmio is losing, then he's going to be upset because that's his soccer team, you know. But if you say, oh, 50-yard line, we don't even have yards in Brazil. So basically that's, you know, some of the rules that are that we built as humans and decided that that's how we're going to live in this world. So as designers, you know, you're like, okay, Vitor, we're talking about football. This is a design class. What are you doing? Well, as designers, we have done the same thing. We have created ways to visually communicate meaning, and those are called signs. And semiotics is nothing more than the study of these signs. So there are 3 kinds of signs. We have icons. Here you can see the icon of a dog. And an icon is going to use shapes, color, maybe sounds, a texture, or any other graphic element to create a connection between an image and an idea. You know, and although icons appear to be naturally linked to their references, they rely on those cultural conventions to a certain degree as well. For example, when we see this image in our heads, we know what it means, right? It's like this representation of this 4-legged mammal that some of us have, some of us don't. Some of us have the other 4-legged mammal that is of the cat kind. But today we're talking about the dog kind. And this is an icon of a dog. You know, it represents the dog itself. It represents the animal itself. Second, we have an index. An index is not the dog itself, but are things that also represent the dog. And those can be abstract or representational. So here we have a food bowl with a little bone. We decided culturally that this is a dog food bowl or an animal food bowl. So if you go to someone's house and you see a food bowl on the floor like this, you're like, oh, maybe there is a dog or a cat here. Usually with the bone is more dog related. If it had fish bones, that would be more cat related, right? If instead of bones, we saw fish bones. You know, that's usually what we agreed upon as society that represents a dog food bowl and a cat food bowl. So dog dishes, dog bones, dog houses, maybe a tag. Those represent the dog without being the dog, you know, without you having to say, oh, the dog is here. So for example, you can have an icon of rain, which can be, you know, the cloud with the droplets. And then an index of rain could be a picture of a wet pavement. You know, we're not talking about the clouds and what's happening up there. We're talking about, oh, it has rained. The ground is wet. And then third, we have symbols. And symbols are kind of a broad category, but today I just want us to focus on language and typography. So, which is the most common symbol? Words that we use are symbols to things that we have in our heads. So when you think chair, you probably have a picture in your mind of a wooden chair that, you know, or whatever chair you like. Maybe you're very attached to a specific chair, and that's the chair that comes to your head when I say chair. But when we all see the word chair, it's the same, and we agreed that. But if you say silla in Spanish, you know, that's chair in Spanish. But if you show that word to someone who speaks English, they're like, I don't know what that is. But for someone in another culture, that means chair. So the alphabet basically is a set of symbols designed to represent the sounds of a language. And here we have the letters DOG that have an arbitrary relationship to the sounds they depict. So, you know, it can get a little overwhelming. But basically, an icon is you representing the thing. An index is something that represents the thing without being the thing. And a symbol is something very abstract that we've agreed as society that it can represent, you know, a word or a thing. Any questions? All right. Well, so let's practice. All right. Are you ready? So what I want us to do together is to brainstorm together. So first, I want us to think about the word coffee and about coffee as a whole and what it represents. And what I want you to do is to either unmute yourself or type in the chat words, ideas that you associate with coffee. And then I'll add them here to our mind map. So we have coffee. What is something that you think of? Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Hot or cold, like temperature.
Temperature. All right, lots of things on the chat. Just give me some time to get this going. So temperature, hot, and cold. We have cream. We have mug, dark, cup. So I'll try to create associations as we go. We have beans, Starbucks, a brand. That's right. Sushi. No noise. Sorry, I think we got mail. All right. Morning. Smell. Not small. Breakfast. Keurig. Another brand. Interesting. Energy. Sugar. Caffeine. Choice. That's an interesting word. Why did you say that, Eric, if you don't mind explaining? I think it's very interesting. Breakfast. Stain. Ugh, don't you hate that? First thing in the morning and you spill your coffee in your shirt. A cafe. Any other words? With coffee and caffeinated drinks in general, you have a lot of freedom and choice with how you want to make it and consume it. Nice. Addictive. I think of, with dark, I think brown. What else? I also think of steam. Maybe some foam. All right, I think we're running out of ideas here. That's good. That's good. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About like 25. I'm not really going to count one by one, but about 25, which is really good. Okay, so we have started with these words, these mental associations. And, doing this is called brainstorming. You can do that with other people. You can do that by yourself. This is a technique that I use often to develop ideas and generate ideas for my work. So now I want you to do a visual brain dump. So basically, I will grab a sheet of paper. It can be 8.5 by 11. It can be your sketchbook. And I want you to grab a pen, not a pencil, something that is going to leave a mark that you can erase. All right. So I'll give you some time to gather those materials, just a paper and a pen, or it can be a marker. You know, if you want to draw a little bit bigger, that's good too. And for the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna time us here. I want you to draw as much as you can about coffee. Whatever comes in your head, it can be abstract, it can be pictorial, like you're representing something. And I'm gonna start it now. So starting 5 minutes, start drawing. It can be anything. There's no right or wrong. I just want you to put down in the paper. I'm gonna open here our words. If you feel like you encountered a roadblock, there's no right or wrong. Can be representational, abstract. Just keep drawing. You still have 2 minutes, so no need to rush. You got time. Hello, Gio. We are working on drawing as much as we can about coffee. Anything you can think of. We have 20 seconds. All right. Pens down. I'm going to stop sharing here because I want to see your images a little bit bigger. Does anyone want to share? You can just hold it up to your camera.
I can share, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I guess so. So I drew like a to-go cup and then a regular mug and then some beans, and a pot of coffee. And I tried to draw one of those press things, but I didn't really know what they looked like. And then like a bag of coffee beans and a sunshine because I drink coffee in the morning.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Anyone else?
I can go.
Mhm.
So it looks a little rough, but
That's all
so
right.
that's just the central thing, like the coffee, and you got like temperature and like addictive. So I like put pill, not like the same instance, but coffee addictive, and then like happiness and energy, beans and ice and the AM and the smell, kind of. So.
Nice. One more.
I kind of made like a breakfast scene out of mine. I don't know if you can see because I drew pretty lightly, but I have like a cold drink, and then I have like a hot to-go cup and a mug, and then there's some beans, then there's pancakes and toast. So.
Nice. Who doesn't like pancakes? I love breakfast food. It's my favorite. I can wake up at 1 p.m. I'm making breakfast. I'm having cereal or whatever. All right, cool. Great job, everybody. All right, now to finish off our exercise, what I want you to do is I want you to pick two of these that you've drawn. One that is representational, one that it's an icon of a coffee, and the other one that's an index. So it is the presence of coffee, but it's not coffee itself. Kind of like the dog bowl is not the dog, but still reminds us of the dog. So take a look at what you drew. If you feel like what you drew isn't necessarily that, you can create something new. And what I want you to do is to recreate that into Illustrator. So going back to Illustrator, perhaps you're creating some guides just to keep things the same size. Maybe I'm going to make a cup, and then maybe I can make a spill, and you can use color for that too. And this is, going to take a little bit longer. So let's take 20 to 30 minutes to do that. So you're creating one icon and an index in Illustrator. You can turn off your cameras and go into Illustrator. You can play music, and I'm going to be here. So if you run into any issues with Illustrator, you can just, come and talk to me and we can troubleshoot. So I'm going to put down 20 minutes on the clock, 25, and then I'll check with you in a little bit. So pick two, one that's an icon, one that's an index of the things that you drew, and then recreate those into Illustrator, and then export each as a PNG like we did earlier today. Just right click on it and export asset, and then upload it to OneDrive. I'm going to put this link on our chat. Just very small, doesn't have to be very big. Same like size of the flower that we did today, 2 by 2 inches. And then the link to the OneDrive folder is in the chat when you're done. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and you can go do your thing. I'm going to pause the recording and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, too. Let's take a look at what people have shared with us. And the main objective of this exercise wasn't necessarily, to create the perfect icons. That would be impossible in 30 minutes. But mostly how we can, use brainstorming and visual brain dump to generate different ideas. So let's start with Shauna's work. We have two here, icon. Nice cup of coffee with some stripes. I like this mug. I would love this mug if it were real. Very nice. And a to-go cup as the index. You know, the coffee is there. I can't really see it, but it relates to coffee, but it isn't coffee. So very good. Rylan, you know, she went to a latte professional to create hers. Very good. And energy. I thought this was really clever. You know, energy that comes from the coffee. Very nice. Noemi, she saved both together, the coffee cup and the espresso, the Italian espresso maker. I like the style choices you did, you know, very geometric. Very cool. Natalie, your last name, Natalie, I know people in my hometown with a very similar last name. It's very weird.
Spanish or something.
It's just written differently. The instead of an S is a C with a squiggly thing underneath.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, nice. A mug, classic, and a French press. Really good. Lily Best. A nice steamy cup of coffee and some coffee beans. Very good. Yeah, I see a trend, right? The coffee mug. Some other people did the beans, the bean bag, the whole coffee. Very nice. And a coffee pot from a drip machine. I like that you used a variation of having the middle line and not having it. That's very good. It, you know, creates some more visual interest of that. Was that Lawrence? Yeah, it was. Let's see, Haley's. A nice steamy mug of coffee and a creamer and some sugar cubes. Have you ever seen real sugar cubes in real life?
Yeah.
Really? Who said that?
I did.
Oh, Haley. Hi. That's
Hi.
nice. I don't think I've ever seen real sugar cubes in real life.
I haven't seen them in a while, but I have seen them before.
I love that. Must be so fancy. I don't know. It reminds me of like those princess movies, you know. Another cup of steamy coffee with some swirls. We like that. Very nice. Gia also gave us some coffee beans, some different takes. Good. Eric gave us some beans and French press. He put lots of S's on it. So very nice. And then Emily gave us a nice mug. I love that color. And a coffee bean. Very good. So lots of coffee beans to represent coffee, as well as mugs and these accessories that we use to drink coffee. You know, if you're a big coffee drinker. What do you guys think? Was this a fun exercise going through the brainstorm and the visual dump? Have you ever done something similar to that before? Yes, no, you can also use reactions because I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, not like with art, but like in other classes, we've done like brainstorming and then we have to go like separately and do our own thing.
All right, cool. Good. Just want to, you know, spark those memories back on. And I want to show you that following this lecture, if you want to read a little bit more about semiotics, there's a supporting reading here. It's a PDF of the book that I am going to refer you to. This is from the book Graphic Design Thinking by Ellen Lipton and Jennifer Cole Phillips. And I really like this book. I wish I had this book when I started. I was reading it yesterday, and I have a digital copy of it, and it breaks down different ways in which people create ideas visually. So these are some of the ways that Ellen Lupton talks about in that book, and it's a very visual book, very fun. If you want to ask a significant other for a Valentine's Day gift, that could be a good ask. It's not super expensive. Or if you just want to treat yourself to something design related, I think this is a really good book. Even if in the future, like, oh, I don't know if design is my thing, or yes, for sure design is my thing. Regardless, I think this book is a good add to any library. All right, so let's take a look at what we have on our plate for next week. So next week, I want you to finish exercise 1, which is the one where you take a picture of a kitchen, an utensil, an art utensil, or a plant, and then recreate that in Illustrator by having that image in the background and then creating the shapes on top of it, and then uploading it to this folder. I know a couple people already did, so great job. You get a free weekend. That's great. And then next week we're gonna review this exercise 1, and then we're gonna talk about design and Gestalt principles, as well as how to create patterns. And then that's gonna push you into our exercise 2. Okay, so all you have to do is finish exercise 1 for next class. If you don't want to finish the coffee stuff, that's okay. That's mostly for participating in class. And as long as you're here and you're trying, you got a participation point, even if you didn't finish everything, as quickly, and that's okay. You're learning about Illustrator, so it's completely fine. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
For the folder, how do you do that again? I'm sorry.
What do you mean about the folder?
To submit it in in ReggieNet. How do you do that again?
So we're submitting all through OneDrive.
Yeah.
And
okay. So it's just the link.
Yeah, it's on week 2 instead of
perfect.
week 3. And then you just create a subfolder there with your name, and you can upload your stuff there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. All right. If you don't have any other questions or comments, you're free to go. I hope you have a great weekend. Do something you like, take a nap, relax a little bit. All right. And then I'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Bye.